Good evening, everybody. I will call this meeting to order. This is the Monday, December 4th, 2023 meeting of the City of Evanston Rules Committee. Could I ask for a roll call, please?
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Wynn.
Here.
Councilmember Nusma.
Here.
Councilmember Burns. Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Ravel.
Here.
Councilmember Reed. Councilmember Heracarias.
Here.
Mayor Biss.
Here.
Thank you. A quorum being present, we will continue with the meeting with the business of the committee. Public comment, we have two people signed up. Looks like they're both online. We will go with Mary Rosinski and then Catherine Gotzik. 2 minutes each, please.
Hi, thank you very much. I actually had just two comments to make, and one of them was, one of the things that creates trust is following the same rules and procedures for things. So I was just wondering why the Budget and Finance Committee has anything different than the other committees, and why the City Council or Rules Committee is involved in choosing their chair. I know with our Parks and Rec, we just at the meeting at the end of the year chose a new chair and a new co-chair. So I'm wondering what that's about. But I also had a comment on the agenda item about board members and committee members and giving them a stipend. I think it's a nice idea. I don't think that's the problem, though. I think the problem is many people apply to boards and committees and they never hear anything back, which again goes to what is our process. And I happen to know at least 10 or 15 people who've applied in the last year for, I guess 2 years really, but for the boards or committee, and haven't even heard a word. Not a thank you, not a we selected someone else, not anything. So I don't think paying people is going to make it a more effective process. I think that respecting people and then following their recommendations to the best of your ability, and then just getting them on the committees is what we need. Because I think people me myself, I know I applied to 4 or 5 committees over the last 10, 12 years before I got accepted onto Parks and Rec. And I know many other people have applied to 2 and 3 different committees in their years here in Evanston, and they just gave up. Because they're like, what's the point? You never hear back. So I think if we improve the process in that, okay, I'm done. But if we improve the process, I think we'll get it. And if we respect the boards and commissions and try our best to follow their recommendations, I think people will feel their time has been well spent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that Councilmember Burns is participating remotely, and we'll go to Catherine Gotzik for public comment.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Catherine Gotzik, Executive Director of the Main-Dempster Mile, which administers a special service area in Southeast Evanston along Chicago Avenue. And I'm speaking in favor of having representatives from the SSAs sit on the Economic Development Committee. That's item R4 tonight. Many proposals came through the city's pipeline for ordinances that were affecting small businesses, the plastic bag tax, the tipped wage, the Fair Work Week, all those come to mind. And many of the business owners in my district have very strong and I think useful opinions on these and other proposals. But each time we were behind the curve and reduced to reacting late in the game. I dare say this was stressful for all involved. I know it was for me and for them. The Main-Dempster Mile as an organization has tried never to take a position on any of these policies, as the businesses in my district have a range of thoughts and opinions, and we're not a monolith. But I made public comment several times this year, and the point was always the same, asking for the city to slow down and to actually talk to the businesses who would be affected by these proposals. I believe having SSA reps on the EDC would be a big step in making that happen. It would create a pipeline of upcoming issues that would allow for true community organizing on our part, and fingers crossed, potential collaboration with between the city and businesses on critical issues upstream of committee and council votes. So I very much am in favor of SSA reps sitting on these on the EDC and look forward to it if it happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else wishing to make public comment? All right, seeing none, let's move forward with the agenda. If someone would care to make a motion on item M1.
I would move approval of the July 17th, 2023 Regular Rules Committee meeting minutes.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hurtado, seconded by Councilmember Nguyen, was it? I will ask for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Mayor Biss.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns. Councilmember Ravel.
I abstain because I was not at the meeting.
Councilmember Herakaris.
Aye.
And on minutes, Councilmember Burns.
All right, by a vote of 8-0, the minutes of July 17th are approved, which brings us to item R1, if somebody would care to make a motion.
I move approval of the 2024 City Council meeting schedule and the Rules Committee meeting schedule.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by by Mayor Biss. Is there any discussion on the meeting schedule as presented in our packet? I guess that is Mayor Biss.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just, out of curiosity, I've noticed that our tradition is to meet the second and fourth Monday of every month except December, when we cancel the fourth Monday for obvious reasons, and August, when we cancel the fourth Monday as well, which has always struck me as kind of odd because the school year is usually begun by then. And so if we're going to cancel a summer meeting, why not one when school is out and folks are likelier to be out of town? So I don't know if anyone who's been around for longer than me wants to speak to that. It's just something that's always struck me as a little bit curious.
Does anybody want to weigh in? Councilmember Nguyen?
I think now, I think the old rule, I mean, the rules that we had were clearly designed when school didn't start till September. And most people were gone sometime in August. So we could rethink it and decide to skip one of the July meetings.
Or the earlier August meeting.
Or the earlier August meeting. Mhm.
Yeah. That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
If someone would like to make a motion to make that change.
I move that we amend the proposed schedule to replace August 12th with August 26th.
It's been moved by Mayor Biss, seconded by Councilmember Nguyen. Is there any discussion on this item? If not, I think everybody is in person, so I will just ask, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously, so the proposed schedule has been changed. So let's now vote on the entire schedule as amended, which has been moved and seconded. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries unanimously, so the schedule for 2024 is approved as amended. Which brings us to item R2, appointment of a chair for the Finance and Budget Committee. If somebody would make a motion on that, please.
I'll move item R2. Okay.
It's been moved by Councilmember Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Nguyen. Is there any discussion on item R2? Councilmember Nguyen.
I would move that the current chair, David Livingston, remain as chair until May of 2024, and that Sherry Rickus be appointed vice chair for that intervening time period, and that then she become chair of the Finance and Budget Committee starting in May of 2024.
Through,
Through whatever is the end of her term, 2025,
for the remainder of her term. Okay, which
Yes.
would be August.
September of
September of
2025.
25?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Oh,
It's been moved by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Councilmember Biss. Is there discussion on that motion? Councilmember Kelly and then Councilmember Ravel.
So on June 6th, we voted we had a lot of discussion, and we voted to one-year terms for the 3 members of our resident experts, finance experts. So I feel like that's really up to the Finance and Budget Committee to decide. I don't think it's really appropriate for us to take sort of this paternalistic attitude and bringing this back here and deciding it. We voted. Again, we had a lot of discussion, went to council. The Rules Committee said the 3 members that were appointed would be chairs and the terms would be 1 year. So I also don't really understand why we have to bring this back to the Rules Committee. But I certainly wouldn't want to change that now. It sounds like we're amending that by trying to extend it. Already we've, if Chair Livingston's term is run over, so be it. I think that's up to the Finance and Budget Committee to decide if they want to move to a different chair. We have how many boards, committees, and commissions? If we start doing this now, it would be a terrible precedent if we're going to start meddling with who becomes chair next. I think once you're off and running, initially the mayor appoints the chair, and then we establish the rules. So I would rather see this left to the Finance and Budget Committee and all boards, committees, and commissions. So, one of the purposes and certainly the benefits of our boards, committees, and commissions is that they provide independent expertise, and I don't think we should start interfering with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Kelly. The chair will recognize Corporation Counsel Ruggie, who is asked to be recognized.
Thank you, Chair Newsma, members of the Rules Committee, Alex Ruggie, Interim Corporation Counsel. Just to address Councilmember Kelly's concerns here, this was brought back pursuant to City Council Rule 5.6.2. It just states that when there is a committee with council members and residents, the Rules Committee picks a chair. Of course, if it's the will of the Rules Committee, we can amend that rule to allow the committees to then choose. There is a mix of rules on how committees choose chairs within the code and within the city council rules. So most committees that do not have council members, they do choose their own chair. We would defer to the Rules Committee, and we're happy to move forward with any recommendation.
Thank you. Councilmember Ravel.
A question. I was wondering, does the committee currently have a vice chair, or this would be starting a new process?
The committee does not have a vice chair, and I don't think vice chair is actually a recognized position in city code or city rules. So I think the chair would entertain an amendment to that motion to withdraw the vice chair nomination.
I would agree.
Okay.
And just to, add a complicating detail. So for the Housing and Community Development Committee, which has a mix of council members and residents, the mayor appoints the chair of that one. So just per our rules.
Yes, it's a little inconsistent across the board. So any consistency, I think, would be appreciated, and that way everyone knows how the boards run. But sometimes city council or the board's rules would control, and the city code would always control over the council rules. So some committees and commissions have specific rules within the city code. We'll address that later this evening in another item. And the city code does control over the rules. So if there is a specific request for how the chair is chosen, that can always be included in the city code as well.
Thank you. Mayor Biss? We're good? Councilmember Kelly?
Again, I think that in the name of consistency, it would be best if we just left it. Melissa, I don't think it would be any different, the vote, if we were to support that. It would be pretty much probably the same on the Finance and Budget Committee, so I don't think there's any point in sort of jockeying to have this happen now. I think in the name of consistency, we should leave once, we have 1 year terms, they can be renewed or extended, but I really feel very strongly that we should not be interfering. We should leave that to our boards, committees, and commissions. We have a good number of boards, committees, and commissions that are a mix, and they have rotated chairs, and they haven't come back. And I think if we make it one flat rule that it's, once the chair is appointed initially at the start, unless you have, some other stipulation that it's, the chair eternally until a new term, but otherwise, I think it should always be left to the boards, committees, and commissions in the name of consistency and independence. I think otherwise, we're going to start entering into really murky waters and looking at every single board, committee, and commission. If chairs are inappropriately appointed, we're going to be taking up an inordinate amount of our time in the name of fairness. So I would like to, I guess I'd like to, I don't know if it'd be a friendly amendment, but ask that we move this to, ask that we amend our code so that all boards, committees, and commissions are making their decisions regarding their chairs.
Corporation Counsel has confirmed that the item in front of us this evening is in compliance with our city code and with our city rules. I think Councilmember Kelly is making a valid point. There is some inconsistency between the various BCCs, how those chairs are appointed. I think it would make sense to, if you want to make a change there, to make that a referral and then take the time to read through every BCC and make sure all the concerns are appropriately addressed, rather than doing something on the fly tonight.
Again, I do think that it says the mayor appoints, and the mayor did appoint a chair. It doesn't say every year the mayor appoints a chair, so we're interpreting it tonight on the fly. I think that would be less on the fly to let the Finance and Budget Committee, as we let all the other commissions and boards that do have chairs that have rotated. We've never once called that out, so I think we are selectively targeting this evening the Finance and Budget Committee, which I don't think is right.
So are you making a motion?
There's a motion on the floor.
There's Councilmember Wynn's motion on the floor. Are you making,
So I'm not sure how this would work. Can I make a substitute motion?
that would be in order.
Okay. So I would like to make a substitute motion to have this referred back to Finance and Budget Committee in the name of not selectively choosing just one committee. And, we're not bringing all the committees. If we do this, we're going to have to start bringing forward all the boards, committees, and commissions that have rotated chairs and revisit each one. Otherwise, we will be selectively singling out the Finance and Budget Committee. I don't think it'll be any different how we vote. It's a matter of process.
Is there a second for that motion? That motion fails for lack of a second. Mayor Biss is recognized.
Yeah, I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, but I just want to correct the record, given that there's an allegation made that there's some special singling out going on here. I want to read Rule 5.6.2 verbatim. Committees consisting of council members and residents which report directly to the council shall have a chair appointed by the Rules Committee from among the committee's members for a term determined by the Rules Committee. So this specific type of committee, of which there are not that many, according to the rules, we, the Rules Committee, are supposed to appoint the chair. And the reason we're having this conversation is that at one point I asked Alex, or perhaps it was Nick back then, I don't even remember, how to fill the vacancy, and was pointed to this rule, which is very, very clear. So we're just following our rules. I agree, Councilmember Kelly, I'm not sure this is the best possible way of doing it. I agree with the idea of having a referral and sort of cleaning up the way we pick chairs. But there's nothing, all we're doing is reading the rules and doing exactly what they specifically say we're supposed to do, which I hope we will now do.
May I just
Councilmember
respond?
Kelly.
Yeah, so I just think it does say select a chair, doesn't say every term. And so I think it could be interpreted various ways. I think it's the same thing with David Livingston when we select him. There have been many people who have served well past their 2 terms. So again, I think that should go back to the Finance and Budget Committee. I think that's your interpretation. I think you did choose the chair, and we did vote to have 1-year rotations. We're now, looking at extending that, as per how we're about to vote this evening, to 2 and 2 years. So we are, what's being proposed flies in the face of what was previously voted on for this committee. So I think this is all not exactly kosher. Thank you.
With no committee members wishing to be recognized, I will call for the vote on the motion, and I will just restate it. The motion is to continue with David Livingston as chair through the April 2024 meeting. and then for Sherry Rikus to take over as chair, beginning with the May 24 meeting through the end of her term, which we believe is
September 2025.
September of '25.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen,
Aye.
Mayor Biss,
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma,
Aye.
Councilmember Burns,
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel,
Aye.
Councilmember Khairkaris,
Aye.
Item R2 passes unanimously, which brings us to item R3, Resolution 91R23. If somebody would like to make a motion.
I move approval of Resolution 91R23, amending City Council Rule 21.2 to add unexpected childcare obligations for remote participation.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Councilmember Khairkaris. Is there any discussion on this? If not, I will just ask Corporation Counsel Ruggie to kind of weigh in and tell us what this means, and maybe to clarify unexpected childcare, because as somebody who has children, I would appreciate some guidance on the unexpected.
Thank you, Chair Dusma. So this language mirrors exactly what was amended in the Open Meetings Act by the Public Act that was signed into law. I would assume that unexpected means unplanned for. So if your child is unexpectedly sick, or say you had some childcare set up and that is canceled, and you're unable to get additional childcare in time to attend the meeting, then that would fall in the unexpected.
Great. Thank you for clarifying. Anybody else want to weigh in here? If not, I think we're all here, so I will call a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item R3 passes unanimously. Bringing us to item R4. If somebody would like to make a motion on ordinance 117-023, amending Title II, Chapter 8 of the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Ravel, seconded by Councilmember Nguyen. Is there any discussion on item A4? Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, oftentimes during the Economic Development Committee, when we talk about business organizations, we highlight SSAs, but we forget about the many business districts that operate in Evanston. There's at least 3 in my ward that are pretty active, as well as some in the second ward. And so I would like to amend this to just allow one ex officio position for a member of a business district. They could be from any business district across the city, because I realize that it's possible that the SSAs are may be much larger organizations. I'm not sure what the typical participation is. We tend to get, for our business districts, I'll use Ashland Arts as an example, about regularly 10 to 15 businesses participate at the meetings, and then obviously they represent they come from a much larger business district, but we get anywhere between 10 and 15, sometimes 20 people that participate in those meetings. So I see the proposal here is to, in addition to some other things, to add 3 or 4 ex officio positions for members of SSAs. I would like to have 1 for a member of a Evanston business district. And I can make that motion now, or if there's no more discussion.
Is there
Okay.
a second on that motion? I'm sorry, was that Councilmember Khairkaris?
I think that was Reed online.
Reed.
Okay,
He's
let
participated remotely.
the record show that Councilmember Reed has joined the meeting remotely. It's been moved by Councilmember Burns and seconded by Councilmember Reed. Corporation Counsel Ruggie, you're good? Let me turn your light off. And so just to be clear, the original motion was to add another member, add a seat for another business owner. The committee currently had 1 seat for a business owner. We're adding another seat for a business owner. We are adding what is currently 3 and will soon be 4 seats for ex officio members of representing the SSAs. So we've got Main Dempster Mile, we've got Central Street, we've got downtown Evanston, and very shortly we will have Howard Street as well. And Councilmember Burns is moving to add another seat, which would be for a representative of any business district.
I mean, I like to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Because we have a few across the city, so I wouldn't want to restrict it to
A
a Fifth Ward.
non-SSA business district.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
Non-SSA. I think we should open it up and see who applies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that motion has been made and properly made and seconded. Is there any discussion on Councilmember Burns's amendment? Mayor Burns.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so it's just perked up. It sounds just as I think I'm getting an assignment here. So the idea is that there would be an application process and they would be appointed by the mayor like any other BCC member?
Oh, I don't know. Is that how this is going to work?
That's how this one works.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to at all. Trust
Well, I
me.
think
I'm not looking for more
I think
appointments.
it's NUSMA's referral if this went through the referrals process, but change, right?
It's
I'm
my
just kinda
referral.
tacking
But
this
ex
onto
officio
the-
members are not mayoral
Non-voting.
appointments.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But my point is like for the SSA folks,
It's
Catherine
clear.
is Catherine, right? Andy is Andy. They are who they are. But if you're saying one representative of a business district when there are many, someone's got to pick. And if you want that someone to be not me, sign me up to not pick. But I'm just saying,
Well, I guess,
if
yeah,
we were
okay.
silent, it would probably be the mayor's choice.
Yeah,
Because that
I
tends
didn't
to
know
be.
it was going to be the executive directors of those organizations, I guess, because some of them don't. Do they all have EDs?
They all have EDs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I didn't.
But the way it's
realize
written,
it.
the representative does not have to be that person.
My thought was that they also are a much larger body than their executive directors. They could be another business owner. They wouldn't.
Could be.
They don't have to be an ED.
Right.
So in that case, yeah, with what I'm saying, they don't have executive directors. They do have staff support, but there's no executive director. So we would need to appoint someone, yeah. And I would be fine if that went through the
But
normal.
I will point
Point
out,
of information, or
process.
point of order, information. There is, I believe, presidents of these boards. I believe they each elect some kind of leadership. Paul might, if he's here, be able to provide some more insight. For example, the Howard Business District, I know Lenice Levy is the president of the organization, owner of Good to Go.
I'm
any
okay
other-
either with either one. It
Yeah.
being appointed, because how did you imagine the SSA representative would be appointed if the executive director was unavailable? How would that selection?
if the executive director was unappointed, it would be up
They
to
would
them to
just
send whoever they
figure it out.
chose.
Okay. I'm fine. I mean, it'd be harder with this, obviously. So there has to be, I think, some
Right.
appointment or
Now,
selection
we do
process.
have,
with this.
if the underlying motion passes, we will have another kind of generic seat for an Evanston business owner.
Yeah.
So is that without, that, which is a voting
when I
seat?
was a vote, yeah.
So without acting on your amendment, would that new seat that we are hopefully going to add tonight as a voting seat, if we were conscious to appoint somebody who was not in one of the designated SSAs to that seat, would that meet your?
No, because I think
your
I've already
expectation?
reduced it. I think initially I was like, all right, if you want a seat for every SSA, let's have a seat for more than one business district. I mean, SEBA and Ashland Arts in particular are really strong, active, organized business districts. I would say as organized as any SSA, they do a lot of work. We got a holiday party coming up. We do that annually. We do a lot of things in our business districts. And so, but I think the compromise for me, right, before I got to this floor is to roll it back and just say, let's at least get one tonight. And if we need to do more than that later, we can. But let's at least get one ex officio member. And again, I'm happy to go either way. As Councilman Reed said, there are typically chairs or presidents. So if we just want to say those folks will automatically have seats on the committee as the executive directors, as to say, will, that's fine.
But then we're adding not just one seat, but we're adding multiple seats, and I'm not quite sure how many.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a little confused with that. I think it could be as simple as they're appointed by the mayor. That's the way we do every other position where we need or most other positions where we need somebody appointed, I'd be fine with
You
that.
are
We could say the
revising-
Economic Development Committee can do it. It doesn't really matter to me.
So you are amending your motion.
Um,
It could be silent?
okay,
Okay. Okay,
I'm fine with that
all right. So
personally.
the motion is on the table, does not have to be amended to allow the mayor to make that appointment. And so just to be clear, what we are doing now is voting on Councilmember Burns's amendment to add yet another seat for a representative of a business district in Evanston. Okay, and that has been moved by Councilmember Burns. It has been seconded by Councilmember Reed. If there's no further discussion, I do see Councilmember Ravel.
And so this would be adding another ex officio member. And also, I'm assuming that business owners are welcome to attend the meetings anyway.
Absolutely.
As a general policy, so.
Right. Okay, seeing no further comment, will Allison please call the roll?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Mayor Biss.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Harakaris.
Aye.
By unanimous vote, item R4 passes, which brings us to items for discussion. Is somebody?
Chair Newsma, I think that was just the,
Oh,
on the.
oh, I'm
motion.
sorry, that was the amendment. So now we need to vote on the underlying motion for item R4.
Briefly, Chair, if I may.
Yes.
There was an additional edit to this section towards the end about selecting the chair. I believe you messaged me about this, but the packet was already out.
Okay.
I did amend it to match the rules, the city council rules, so it says the rules committee will determine the chair, but based on the prior discussion, perhaps this committee wants to leave it as is.
Thank you for flagging that. I didn't realize that had been amended. So if you could give us a second, if you could explain how it is now and what the drafted change would entail.
Absolutely. So 2-18-5 is about adoption of rules and selection of a chairperson. It previously read, the commission must select a chairperson from among its members with a rotating chair system. I had changed it to match the rules, the city council rules. So the amendment would be the committee chairperson shall be selected by the rules committee for a term determined by the rules committee. My suggestion based on the prior conversation would be that we do not include my edits and we leave it as is. But obviously I leave that to the rules committee to make that motion.
I'm reading some body language here that indicates at least some agreement with what you're suggesting, Councilmember Nguyen.
I would leave it as is. I mean, the system works very well right now.
All right, so I believe we would probably need a motion to strike that change from this.
So I
So I
move,
Motion.
I have my hand up.
Councilmember Reed.
I'll make that motion, but I also have a separate question. So I'll move that we strike the language that Alex just referred to.
And does that-
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Nguyen, and this is essentially to leave the language in section 218.5 as is without change. Okay, is there any comment, any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll on that amendment.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Mayor Biss.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Harakaris.
Aye.
By unanimous vote, section 218.5 will remain as is. Councilmember Reed, you indicated you had another point to
Yes.
make.
Yeah, and I you know, I feel like I know the answer to this, but you know, I always like to check. What exactly is an ex officio member? I mean, I know that I'm hearing from the discussion here that they don't have the right to vote. I don't know Latin, but My understanding of ex officio is by nature of office or by the fact that they hold the office. So can maybe our law department or whoever, someone, why wouldn't an ex officio member have the right to vote?
Ex officio members are appointed to the office not because of who they are, but because of a different position they hold by nature of their office.
Right.
Ex officio members can be voting or they cannot be voting. There is no, I think, no general rule is my understanding, which is why we are clarifying in this case they would not be voting. And
Okay.
one
And
of the reasons for that is because the executive directors of the BCCs are responsible to their board of directors and their business constituents who may or may not be unanimous on any particular issue. So by allowing them to participate as ex officio members, we are getting their input, but not forcing them to vote on a matter that they might not have unanimous support of their board on.
No, that is helpful. And then somewhat related, just trying to understand ex officio. The mayor is an ex officio member of every committee. So does the mayor have or not have the power to vote? Maybe that's for Alex. And do ex officio members count toward quorum?
Corporation Counsel Ruggie.
Yeah, they do not count towards quorum, and the mayor, as the ex officio of all the boards, does not have the power to vote on those boards.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
All right. So is there any further discussion on this item? And I think that brings us to the underlying motion, which has been amended to leave 218.5 as is, and to add another seat, which we've done by approving Councilmember Burns' motion. So with no further discussion, I'll call the roll on item R4.
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Nguyen. Mayor Biss.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
By unanimous vote, item R4 passes, which now brings us to items for discussion, beginning with item D1. This is discussion of Evanston City Code, Section 165, appointments and removals. Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Councilmember Nguyen. So the item is now open for discussion. Does anybody wish to be recognized by the chair? We can't have a discussion if nobody discusses.
I'll start us off.
Go ahead, Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, my recollection is this is in response to the, I'm sorry, is this in response to the term limits?
This is a referral you made a very long time ago, council member.
Oh, I am sorry. Yes, this is looking to change the appointment process. Alan, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
I'm not
I'm sorry.
sensing a lot of-
Allison and I have met and discussed this. We've met with at least one member of the Equity and Empowerment Commission to discuss this as well. The goal here is to make the appointment process more transparent, to ensure that we're achieving more diversity, both economically, racially, gender, the whole spectrum of diversity. And also, I think a key part of the discussion is keeping that in mind, that we want to see more diversity on our boards, committees, and commissions, is that we may have to change the structure of not only how we appoint folks, but how we treat folks once we've appointed them. And I think we've seen with participatory budgeting that when we provide stipends, when we do basic things like provide, sometimes, I'm not saying at all committee meetings, but when we provide food, when we provide childcare options, when we provide things to help make participating in local government more possible for folks, they do it, and they do it in large number. And so that is really the underlying goal here, is to ensure that we're getting more folks activated in our local government, and that we're providing more opportunities for folks, and that we're making both the appointment process more transparent, and the process for once folks are on committees more conducive to a diverse set of people being able to engage.
Thank you, Councilmember Reed. Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, I'll just say, just to add one element, and this is mostly towards whether or not to provide a stipend or compensate committee members. I think that whether we acknowledge it or not, if either we as a city or something else doesn't address the barriers that people have to participate in these type of activities, especially without compensation, if we don't address those barriers, there's a certain type of individual that is both going to be interested in it and able to participate, whether we acknowledge that or not. And I think as part of this exercise, it'd be interesting to put together, to try to model that out, to say, all right, this is the type of individual that we think, again, would either be interested or would have the time to commit to this type of activity. And I think it would give us a better sense of what direction we may want to take. What I just speculating here and looking at, I grew up in Evanston. I've observed this organization function for many years, mostly as a concerned resident, and I would say there is a certain type of person that finds their way into these leadership positions within the city. I don't think it's diverse as it could be if we were, again, to both eliminate and address barriers to participation. And I think that's a good place to start. Now, how we figure out exactly what those barriers are, I think is something that I would at least love to come out of this discussion. If we're not ready to make any kind of concrete decisions tonight, at least willing to explore what those barriers may be, and so that we can, hopefully address them. So I'll leave it there.
Chair,
thank you, Chair.
If there's no one else in line,
Burns.
I think I have a quick disposition.
Is there anybody
sorry.
wishing to be recognized for a first time? Seeing none, we'll go to Councilmember Reed with 2 minutes and 52 seconds remaining.
Whoa, that rule doesn't apply here. But I will, I think a quick disposition for this. We've discussed it with, as I said, at least one member of the Equity Empowerment Commission. In fact, the whole Equity Empowerment Commission has discussed it because we go through the referrals list. And I think the proper place for this to go is to the Equity Empowerment Commission. So I would move to refer this to Equity Empowerment.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed and seconded by Councilmember Burns that this issue be referred to the Equity Empowerment Commission. Is there any discussion on that motion? Mayor Biss.
Yeah, I just think that's respectfully, it's sort of an abdication of our responsibility here. We have the job of figuring out how to structure boards and commissions in a way that optimizes the outcome for the residents. And I will not vote for this because I think we ought to take that responsibility seriously and not pawn it off on somebody else.
So I will withdraw my second then. I think what I want to make sure is that this body is willing to actually discuss it. I do think this is a really important issue to explore and address. This aligns closely with a referral that I made a long time ago. And so this is something that I'd like us to spend some time on. I think if this body is willing to do it, great. If not, then I will agree with Councilman Reed. We need to refer it to somebody that is willing to take the time to really look into it.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Yeah.
So, thinking about this personally, I do think having food and childcare available lowers the bar of entry for a lot of folks. I'm just curious, Councilmember Reed, when you say stipend, how would that, are you thinking that it would be like a hourly stipend, or how would that,
Yeah. No, certainly not an hourly stipend. I think it could be per meeting. But if I can quickly, if this is a part of your question, if I can respond to,
Sure.
I do think we wouldn't be abdicating our authority by having equity empowerment. It still have to come back to Rules Committee for us to look at whatever the equity empowerment. Just that group would give us some insight. That's what the Equity Empowerment Commission is for.
Okay.
And so the committee would do a deep dive, and then we would come back and look at whatever that committee produces.
I mean, for one idea I just had while we're having this discussion is polling our current boards and committee members, and coming up with a set of questions like, what are the difficulties and barriers to trying to see like what is hard for people who currently serve. I think, me personally, I remember I was, asked to be on the library board some years ago, and just with the age of my kids, it just was not like a feasible, thing to do. But I think polling people, and getting some data around that would be a good next step. I personally don't know exactly how, when you think of like a lot of the folks that are not represented up here and not represented on the committees, there are some pretty big, economic and time constraints that I don't think a stipend would necessarily eliminate those barriers, but I think it's something we should dig into.
Councilmember Kelly.
So I think I agree with Councilmember Hadakaris. I don't think some relatively small stipend is going to make the difference, but I think outreach does, and I think it might be about developing a better process for outreach in each of our wards. I think that I'm also interested. So I don't think a stipend will resolve the issue. I do think it wouldn't be a substitute motion, but I do think we should allow for each board, committee, and commission, say, to allow for 1 or 2 professional development sessions, like to pay for, maybe within the state. I haven't thought this through entirely, but I do think that's important. Not professional development, but to further their own expertise on whatever board, committee, or commission they're on, to encourage attendance at conferences.
Thank you, Councilmember Kelly. Is there anybody else wishing to be recognized for a first time? Councilmember Ravel.
Well, when I saw the word transparency somewhere in this, I guess that makes me think about following up, I think, on Councilmember Kelly's idea, getting the word out more to our residents about what the opportunities are on boards and commissions, and what kind of responsibility, what kind of time commitment that might mean, and what would be the benefit to the resident from serving on a board or commission. It's not all a one-way street. It's beneficial for the resident as well as for the community. And so it does seem, I know the mayor says he wishes that he could have more applications. I think we, council members, would like to be more involved in trying to help spread the word about the possible opportunities. So maybe if we had some kind of a game plan for doing a better job of sharing what the opportunities are, what the vacancies are, how to, maybe we could have a presentation that we all make at our ward meetings to try to get started on building greater resident interest in being on the boards or commissions. So I'd like to see us move, see if that wouldn't help address some of the issues that we're talking about.
Thank you, Councilmember Ravel. Several folks are wishing to be recognized for a second time, beginning with Councilmember Reed. Before we do that, I'd like to weigh in for the first time and just offer my perspective as a former member of the Utilities Commission for a couple of terms. And, you know, I will acknowledge the challenge in finding applicants for that board, especially, you know, attracting a diverse pool of applicants was an ongoing challenge for that board, as it was, for that matter, for other, you know, non-city related nonprofit boards that I've been on. And in fact, any organization that I've ever been a part of has always had an ongoing challenge trying to get participation on the governing board. So, like, we're not alone in that challenge. Several years ago, there was an aborted discussion about reducing the number of boards, commissions, and committees, which we've already taken a few steps on, but we didn't finish the plan. But I would be interested in maybe reopening that discussion and kind of rethinking the entire roster holistically. So those are my comments. Let's go to Councilmember Reed, and then I think the order was Mayor Biss, Councilmember Hadakatis, and then Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so I understand, again, this particular referral isn't about professional development, although I agree that needs to happen. This referral is about transparency. So one part of it is making sure that the process is more transparent, making sure exactly where Councilmember Revelle and Kelly and others went, which is we do need to attract more folks, and we do need to do a better job of getting information out there. But in response to Councilmember Hadakatis, you know, I agree, polling the existing members is useful, but existing board and commission members have somehow figured out how to, how to make it work for them. And so I would encourage us to do that, but also to really focus on how do we get the voices of other people. I think the Equity Empowerment Commission is a good way to do that. It may be a good way also for them to kind of focus more on local issues, but I do think that sitting this equity empowerment is good, and I will just respond. Yes, I agree. Childcare is an option, you know, or a barrier. Other things are barrier. Transportation may be a barrier for some folks, and the reason I think a stipend may be beneficial, and that's not the only solution, but you know that allows folks to solve their own problems. So if your issue is childcare, well, the stipend will allow you to solve that issue. If your issue is transportation, if your issue is whatever your issue may be, a stipend allows you to solve that. But I do think this committee getting input, the Rules Committee getting input from all of our committees, and with a special bit of input from the Equity Empowerment Commission, I think will be beneficial for us as we move forward with this discussion. And so I don't think it's an abdication of our role. I think it's actually our role to get input from committees like Equity Empowerment. And so I would hope that we would support sitting this equity empowerment and still doing the work that we need to do, which is to vet whatever proposal comes out of that committee.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Councilmember Reed. We'll go to Councilmember Hadakatis.
I just wanted to kind of add on to what Councilmember Revelle said. I think it'd be a great idea as we have openings, you know, most of us serve on a lot of these committees that have openings. And so maybe getting a fellow committee member to talk about their role, or just to give examples of like what we're actually discussing and working on in these committees, I think would kind of demystify kind of what is happening and what the job is. But I think I'd really like that idea. I think that's something that all of us should be doing going forward.
Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, I think it's possible that with some greater education and awareness about committees, that it might help some people, might motivate some people to dig a little deeper and make some sacrifices to make it work. I still don't think it directly impacts the potential barriers that people are facing. And I think the reason why a stipend was suggested, it doesn't have to be a stipend. If we had if the city has or a partner has, childcare on a rolling basis that's happening somewhere else, then we could say, if you join a BCC, you could participate in some existing childcare opportunity without having to pay, right? If it falls on the same day as the meeting, you can drop your children off there and they can participate. So it doesn't have to be a stipend. We could think, if we could think creatively about how to do it and if everything lines up appropriately. But I think the reason why not just this proposal is considering a stipend, but many kind of organizations and activities do, is because we're not trying to compensate them in a way that helps them perform all the different things they need to do in their life. We're saying, if you're setting aside this amount of time on this day, how can we help you get to that meeting, right? It's not how can we help you with any housing crisis that you may be dealing with. It's saying if you're going to do this at no cost, with a small stipend, can we help you pay for childcare? Can we help you get here that evening, that specific evening? And so I just want to clarify that. This is not saying that we need salaried members to sit on our board committees and commissions. We're just saying there's a cost to getting here. We don't want you to eat that. We'll eat it, and we could do that through providing a stipend or, again, in some other creative solution. And then also, I thought the same thing. I think if we survey people that sit on boards, committees, and commissions, we're surveying the very group that doesn't have the barriers, have figured out a way to address them on their own. So in addition to that, I think it's important to find a way to survey some other group that helps us understand barriers. And that's all for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Burns, Councilmember Kelly, and then Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you. I do think we do have many very, wonderful members of our boards, committees, and commissions that do represent, I agree, I think we should do some outreach to recruit from a broader spectrum of our community, but nevertheless, there are still some really wonderful representation and wonderful members that do a lot of really wonderful work. So I just want to say that. But I think right now we could start immediately, like on our city, I was just looking at our homepage by, within a We Need You and a list of the different boards, committees, and commissions. Like, so when someone opens it up, just something really appealing. I don't know, City Manager Stowe, if we could get something like that on our homepage. I also think it might be, we used to do this with the language departments, but at the high school, like if each board, committee, and commission maybe made a little snippet video from a member talking about what it's like. So when you click on that, there's a video about what it's like to be a member of that board. I mean, just a little, like how often they meet and the type of things they discuss. I think that would also be helpful. So I feel like we could do that right away. And I don't know if it would take up too much time either from the report from the city manager or the mayor, if at each council meeting, just real like a 30-second, we have openings on this. Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilmember Nguyen.
I agree with Councilmember Kelly on those things. The other thing I was going to say is if we could have a report from the mayor or city manager on what are the openings, and all of us have newsletters, but to have that as a regular part of our newsletter, saying here are there are openings on the following boards. If you are interested in finding about more information about any of these, either go to the city's website, as you were suggesting, or contact us. But to have that as like a regular portion, where people know, oh, here's Councilmember Newsmo's newsletter. I'm going to look to see what's open right now, if there's a committee that I'm interested in. Because over time, I have people who meet me for coffee and say, I want to volunteer. And so they just want to know, what are the various opportunities? Here's what my skill set is. Yeah.
Great. I'm going to recognize our policy coordinator, Allison Leipziger.
Just to let you know, very recently we started putting in our agendas for city council meetings a table at the very end. Not every single meeting. I think we'll do every other meeting just because it's hard to always compile it. But so we've done one so far, but that is something we're going to start doing. So just like we have a table of our upcoming meetings, we'll also have a table of vacancies. So hopefully that will be something that people can refer to and you can all refer to as well.
Thank you. we've got Councilmember Burns and then Reed and then Mayor Biz.
I'll hold because I like to hear from Mayor Biss. I don't think we've heard from, I think only maybe once before. So I'll hold for Mayor Biss and Councilmember Reed.
All right, let's go Councilmember Reed and then Mayor Biz.
I was just going to make the point that Allison made, so I will hold. I'm curious to hear Mayor Biss as well.
Mayor Biz.
Bad news. I was also just going to make the point that Allison made, except to say that I think that table also exists live at all times on our on whatever sort of master BCC webpage there is. So it's both replicated on an ongoing basis in council agendas now, and it's also available online live. And I do want to say thanks to Allison and the clerk's office, who have both really helped improve and clean up this process during the course of the last couple of years.
Great. Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, so, and I won't make this motion now. I don't even know if it needs a motion, but I'll wait till we decide what we're going to do with the direction that Councilman Reed wants to take. But the things that I think are important is survey, to Councilmember Hedekadis' point. I'd like it to be expanded more than what Councilmember Hedekadis described, but I do think a survey is in order. I think a lot of what I'm hearing is not getting at barriers. It's just getting a greater awareness to attract people that are likely fit into this profile of somebody that, again, both has the interest and the ability to make this work. I think it's a wonderful idea. We should do it. I'll promote it. I'll circulate it through my newsletter as I have before, but I don't think it addresses barriers. And so to kind of end where I started, I think at the very least, it sounds like we're not ready to take any kind of decisive actions today. At the very least, let's agree to do a survey so we can have people tell us, hey, we can even phrase the survey, if you've sat on a committee, maybe there's a certain set of questions, there's a different set of questions. If you haven't, maybe you've considered it, but you decided not to for some reason. Hey, we want to know why. So I think that's something that, again, depending on what we do with Councilmember Reed's motion, I will make a motion to do that. I'm also curious to know, I'd like us to look into the different kind of childcare drop-in after-school opportunities they are citywide. I was just kind of freestyling, but I think that would be a really good idea if we could get other partners, but also the city, if we have any programming to allow children of members who participate on BCCs to attend those programs at no cost. I think that's a way to address the child care issue at least. And so I'll make a motion to just kind of direct staff to look into that, both what we offer as a city, but also our partners. And that's it for now. Thank you, Chair.
I think I'm not sure motions are in order for that kind of thing, but if we're just directing staff, by body language and thumbs up, I'm comfortable doing that. Councilmember Reed, then Councilmember Hedekadis, then I'll say a few more words, and then I'd like to kind of wrap this one up if we could.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if Councilmember Burns, if my motion is still on the table, if you officially withdrew your second or not, but again, this committee recently has only met, essentially once per quarter, at least in the last quarter, once every couple months. And the Equity Empowerment Commission meets monthly. And so I think, if we don't come back together for another couple months, in the in-between time, I'll say that I think it would be beneficial to have another committee also working on this that meets more regularly, and is able to reach populations that we may not traditionally be as effective at reaching.
That question was to me, Chair. So, I mean, if there's support to refer this to Equity Empowerment, I'm happy to not withdraw my second. There's no reason to do it if it doesn't have support.
Yeah,
so
you had withdrawn your second. I'm not sure exactly what the motion is at this point.
Yeah. And looking around, Councilmember, you can't see, but I don't know if there's support. So that's why I withdrew the second. I don't think there's support here.
Councilmember Hedekadis.
So going back to the survey and how to do that, I do agree with a lot of the points that we're going to find out how easy it is to be in a board or commission from people who are currently sitting on boards and commissions. But I think one of the things I think we should do is also reach out and work with the participatory budgeting team, since they have a population of folks who traditionally have not been involved in government locally, and so I think having that same survey go out to those folks that we're already kind of engaged with would be helpful. And then I think it's also, if we have the kind of the two versions of this survey, also work with some partner organizations and do some outreach that way with, other, like the Latino community, for example. I can reach out. But I think that would be a good way to kind of get a baseline into what we're hearing from the community.
Yeah, one last point. I'll flip my light on if I need to get in order.
Let's go to Councilmember
Yep.
Kelly and then back to Burns.
Thank you. I'm going to pass right now. But
Okay.
thanks.
Back to Burns, and then hopefully we can wrap this one up.
Yes, I do think we need a motion to just, because especially for the survey, I mean, that's going to take some staff time and it needs to be programmed. And so,
Okay.
and so I just want to make that clear if we feel like we need it. I also think this should come back to our next meeting. And so I would motion just to table this or whatever we can do.
I'd suggest this. Let me read through, I've got 5 takeaways here. Let me summarize those, get any input to make sure I've captured everything, and then we'll decide what to do next. So we have agreed, or there seems to be agreement to do some kind of poll or survey of existing BCC members as well as our participatory budgeting population. That would be direction to staff to make that happen. Number 2, let's make sure that the openings are listed on a web page. They are currently on the BCC web page. I think we could leave it up to staff, whether or not they want to feature that from time to time on the home page. And then number 3, the suggestion was made to have either the mayor or city manager mention those vacancies as a regular part of business.
Sorry to interrupt. Sure.
Or you
I couldn't imagine a form of outreach that's more opposite to meet people where they are than like hope they're watching mayor's announcements during city council meetings, but no problem. Happy to do it.
And then number 4, this one is on us as council members to promote this topic via our newsletters and ward meetings and in other interactions as well. And then number 5, this would be direction to staff to explore existing opportunities for childcare. To Councilmember Burns's point, we don't want to invent a new wheel, but if there's another wheel we could kind of tag on, might be informative to know. So is there anything that I have not captured in what I've just said?
At the risk of complicating things, I would say, I totally appreciate the point that, like, sort of similar to my previous joke, like talking to people the way we talk to them replicates the problem. But I will say that our email list is good, big. Our open rate is honestly shockingly good. And so as long as we're trying to survey people, I think doing a broad survey to the entire city distribution list is a good idea to add to both the current BCC members and the participatory budgeting universe.
I think that makes sense. Councilmember Kelly?
So I think the survey's fine and the outreach, but I think it is also really about selling it also, not just finding out what impediments there are, but to really sell it. And that's why I suggested the homepage. I also think if we were to send out a memo for the staff for all the BCCs to encourage maybe little videos that go on the homepage about joining and what's wonderful about being on that board and the benefits, I really do think that can also help, because otherwise you're like, why, some appeal to make this appealing to participate.
Video sounds like that's work for somebody. Not sure who that person is, and we do have some vacancies in our communications department. So I think I would defer to staff on, maybe deploying staff to do videos when and if we have that capacity.
I didn't mean like a professional video, but okay.
All right, Councilmember Burns.
I just wanted to say, I think I would be fine if we can add that to this list. I think it is important to think about how we market and advertise opportunities. I remember having a really good conversation with Sarah Flax, our community development director, who recently, who I think currently is rethinking how they advertise for positions. They felt like the way we advertise is suitable or can kind of appropriately attract kind of public works professionals, but wasn't necessarily something that would motivate somebody that's interested in working in housing, et cetera. So I do think looking at the way we advertise and promote this is important, and a video could come out of that. So if we want to add that to something that Manager Stowe can look into, I think that would be appropriate.
Good evening, Councilmember Burns. Happy to look into that. As Councilmember Newsom noted, we have a vacancy on the communications team, so once we're fully staffed up,
Something
we'd
they
be
can
happy
take
to look
on.
at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do we need a motion for all of that? Because I want to make sure it actually happens, and then we get an update at the next meeting. So I think we could add that to a table, maybe, because this should come back so we can discuss it. This would be my motion. at the very
Corporation Counsel
least.
Ruggie, do we need a motion on that, or if we're just offering direction to staff?
Yeah, we don't need a motion, but I would suggest the next meeting, according to the schedule we just passed, is February. That's a little short turnaround for us, so maybe the following meeting after that, we can ensure it's on the agenda for an update.
And we don't need a motion to make sure it's on that agenda, you're saying?
No, the chair directs the agenda, but we can ensure that it moves along to the next.
Okay. Are you the chair still at that point?
I think it will be Councilmember Kelly at that point. Yeah. Okay, so we don't need a motion. Sounds like
That worries me a little bit. I have to be honest. I have to be honest. That does worry me a little bit. Makes me want to make a motion, but I would like to make a motion to see this come back at, when is that date? I'm sorry.
The April meeting.
I want to make a motion for this to come back at the April, say it again, please. April 1st, Rules Committee meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Burns, seconded by Councilmember Reed, that we add this item to the April 1st, 2024 agenda of the Rules Committee. Seeing no discussion on this item, I will call.
Quick comment.
Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, I just want to, as a point of information, because, right, my understanding, just by the fact of their presence, is that Allison is the staff member for Rules. It seems pretty self-evident, so I just want to make sure that that's correct.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And, I'm seeing faces, maybe that's not, I don't know, but I am maybe more aware of Allison's workload than I am with other staff members. I just want to highlight that, again, I agree with this motion and bring it back in April, but if we could shift some of that workload to a staff member who really, this should be part of their focus, right? Our equity coordinator, to ensure that, we're being equitable throughout our city processes. I do think it's appropriate to shift some of that burden to the Equity Empowerment Commission and thereby their staff to properly assign the workload. So I would just really, I get it. I don't know, maybe there's some faith that has been lost in the Equity Empowerment Commission as of late. I don't know if that's why folks are so hesitant to send this to them, but this is truly right up their lane. So I would encourage us, if not for anything other than for Allison, to send this to Equity Empowerment Commission, have it come back to us in April or whatever the heck we just made a motion for. And so if folks are maybe with that in mind, amenable to shifting some of the workload there, if I can't see the room, the camera's not panned there, but if Councilmember Burns can help me out and figure out if it's appropriate to send it there.
Manager Stowe, I would just quickly ask, Chair, if I could be recognized, sorry.
Sure.
Is just you know, we're going to hopefully table this to the next meeting. Chair Nusma has provided a list of things we want to follow up on. I would imagine you wouldn't mind looping, our equity and, what's the official title? I don't have it yet. No, I know his name. I'm saying, what's the
Yeah,
title?
Liam Bird, so Organizational Performance and Equity Manager.
Yeah, I knew I
So
wasn't gonna
I
get
think
that,
it's a
yeah.
combination of Liam, myself, Allison, and communications team.
Yeah, so there it is. I think we're kind of directing that we want this worked on. I think it's up to Manager Soto to decide the staff people that participate in that, and I think he's just let us know that Liam will be at the table. So I'm fine with that.
Okay, so there was a motion on referring this to the April agenda, tabling it till the, making sure it's on the agenda at the April 4th meeting. So April 1st meeting. Seconded by Councilmember Reed. So with no further discussion on that.
Can you
Councilmember Kelly,
reiterate what is going to be on the table?
An update.
an update on this discussion and a report back from staff on these.
So a continuation of the discussion? Is that, I mean, I just want to be clear, or are we coming back with a product? I mean, will we have, I mean, I don't understand what we're doing.
I think it would be for discussion.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have anything ready by then, I would
Right.
imagine.
So it's a continuation. We're just saying to continue this discussion in April.
Correct. With a report from staff on the progress they have made on the tasks we are assigning them.
Okay.
Okay. I will call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Wynn, Mayor Biss,
No.
Councilmember Nusma,
Aye.
Councilmember Burns,
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel,
Aye.
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Harakaris.
Aye.
By a vote of 7-1, that motion passes. And that brings us to discussion on item D2, which is voter enfranchisement of documented residents. If somebody would like to make a motion.
So moved.
On D2 for discussion, it's been moved by
Seconded.
Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Harakaris. Councilmember Reed, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, thank you. So this referral, I mean, the title really says the gist of what the referral is about. It's about allowing folks who are non-citizens but legally here, who are documented residents, who live in our city, who pay taxes, who work, who do everything that any other resident would do, but they don't have the right to vote for mayor, for council member. And, myself and I believe Councilmember Harakaris and Mayor Biss and some others have had conversations with some folks who have studied this in other jurisdictions. It seems as though we are legally able to do this in Illinois as long as we follow a certain process. And I would like to lay out what that process is a bit. But first, because I think these are two, parallel relevant processes, I'm curious if legal can give us an update on ranked choice voting and what has the movement there with the county clerk's office.
Council Ruggie?
Thank you, Chair Nusma. So the update on the ranked choice voting, we are in discussions with the Cook County Clerk's Office pertaining to this issue. They've identified a couple of issues, and we have differing opinions on the legality of ranked choice voting in Illinois and the city's ability to move forward. So we are still working with the county in hopes, we're hopeful that we can move forward with the county on ranked choice voting. We have engaged outside counsel to assist us in these efforts in case this has to go further. So we will keep you posted, but we are hopeful that we'll be able to move forward. The county has raised some concerns about the State Board of Elections and the ability to have ranked choice voting in the machines, and the ability for us to obtain those machines in time for the election.
Thank you. Oh,
Hold on one second, Councilmember Reed. Mayor Biss is seeking to make a point of order or
just
seeking to be recognized?
Just Would it be okay if I just added, I of course agree with everything that Ms. Ruggie said. I just want to, because I think this is delicate, I want to add an additional point of clarification. When you say that that we have different views on the legality, that's not to suggest that we believe it's legal and they believe it's illegal. That's to suggest that we believe it's legal and they continue to have a few questions they don't work out. So we're not on opposite sides of a legal dispute. We're still working toward agreement.
Thank you for that clarification. Back to Councilmember Reed, who has the floor with 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. I'm not keeping super close time, but just to keep us all on track.
Fair. Okay, thank you. So, I think it's worth, there is a law. So one, I think we should move forward with this. I think as a value of Evanston, we believe that folks who are participating, who are here legally, who are documented, that they should have the same right to vote in our local elections. One of the fortunate things is our local elections are not, obviously they don't coincide with federal elections. So I think that does make this process a bit easier and less concerning that, someone could get in trouble for voting in a federal election or any confusion there. And so I think this aligns with the values. I think we all have a number of residents in our wards who are wonderful members of our community, who are on our boards, committees, and commissions, who are doing wonderful stuff, but just don't have the same rights as their neighbors. And given likely our ability in Illinois to make this change, they don't have those same rights for really no good reason at all, other than we haven't taken action to give them those rights. So with this, I think the disposition should be there's a law firm that worked with the city with the EVI case, with the Evanston Voter Initiative. When that was challenged from the ballot, I don't remember the name of the law firm, but they honestly did, wonderful analysis. It taught me something. I was wrong in the moment, but I learned from their analysis about the process, and I think they're spot on. And so I think that firm can help us make sure that we're doing this right. I think, with ranked choice voting, I think we missed a key step, which I don't want to miss here, which is passing an ordinance directing the county clerk's office as to exactly what they have to do. I think we missed that step with ranked choice voting. I tried to highlight it. I certainly don't want to miss that step here. And so I would encourage us to move forward with that and to refer this to outside legal counsel to essentially give us a game plan on how to do it properly, which was laid out in the memo already, but yes.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Reed. We'll go next to Councilmember Harikadis, followed by Mayor Biss, and then Councilmember Kelly.
I think Councilmember Reed said a lot of the things I wanted to say. I've talked to a bunch of Ninth Ward residents that are not able to vote and do a lot of things in the community and serve on boards. I am one of those people that would not have been able to vote. I'm a naturalized citizen. I've lived here. I had lived here for decades, and paid taxes, did all the things everybody else did, but just could not vote. So I'm in favor of this. I think there's some things we have to work out, but I would like to see this move forward too.
So Mayor Biss was not seeking recognition, so that brings us to Councilmember Kelly.
I had my light on before during the ranked choice vote discussion. I just wondered if that could be summed up, what the legal questions are. Is that possible?
I'm tempted to say no, but that's not a very nice answer. I think that there's some they want to be extra sure, right? So we take the position that our home rule authority gives us the right to, by referendum, to decide what kind of elections to use. That's something that the city's done before. For example, in 1992, when they passed that referendum, that creates a different system of electing mayors than any other municipality has. I would say the county clerk's office wants to be super careful in making sure that that doesn't contradict anything else anywhere in the law that people might have not thought of. They just don't want to be in a position where there's an inconsistency that they've been blind to. So they're kind of turning over a lot of stones to ensure there's no kind of hidden trap. And they've indicated they want to be collaborative with us, and I take them at their word.
Thank you. I mean, why do we need outside
Point of
counsel?
information, just for Councilmember Kelly, I would refer everyone to the Harned versus City of Evanston case. I think it very clearly lays out what the issues with ranked choice voting are in that case. So I refer our legal counsel and anyone else who's interested. If you read the holding there, it is crystal clear what the process needed to be for ranked choice voting.
Okay, thank you. So, but why do we need, are we actually hiring now outside counsel for
It's not.
this?
It's just that we're getting a bunch of legal questions from the clerk's office, and so sometimes our counsel checks in with Ansel Glink on our responses to those legal questions, as part of the ongoing relationship with Ansel Glink when kind of technical issues of municipal law arise.
Okay, thank you.
All right. With nobody else seeking to be recognized for a first time, I'd like to weigh in here. And I think this is an idea worth considering. I don't think now is the right time. We don't know at this point how many people would be impacted by this. We don't have any idea of how this would be administered. Who would do that? Would it be the city? Would it be the county? How much would that cost? And given the fact that ranked choice voting is currently taking up the bandwidth of the same folks that would be in charge of implementing this new addition to the voting process in Evanston, I'd like to get through ranked choice, get that implemented, and then come back and think about this after the next municipal election. That's my perspective. Does anybody else want to be recognized? For a second time, Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, thank you. I understand that concern. The county clerk's office would certainly be the group implementing this, potentially with some coordination with the city clerk's office. But the county clerk is the election authority for Evanston. Of course, the clerk is the local election official, but those duties are pretty limited in what the scope is. And so I would encourage us to continue forward with this, regardless of ranked choice voting. I truly believe unless we make some changes to ranked choice voting now that, given the holding in a whole host of cases, but most recently the Harned case, that ranked choice voting likely will not be the law of the land without further action in Evanston the next election. And I do think, the goal of ranked choice voting, or at least part of the goal of ranked choice voting, and part of the goal of Councilmember Hayakatis' referral on small donor matching is to increase the number of folks who are turning out in our elections and participating. And I think this is a surefire way to do that by granting people who historically have not had the right to vote in our local elections. And if it's 200 members of our community, which I just given census data, I know it's more than that, but that's 200 new folks throughout the city who did not have the right to vote that would likely turn out in municipal elections. So I would encourage us to move forward with this. Certainly to move forward with the information. I think the big question that we have is what is the timeline to get this on the ballot, whether it be for the primary or for the general election. But I think we should go through the work of getting the answers to these questions, and it may be illuminating in other areas as well. So I will move that we work with an outside law firm to produce a memo and a resolution, and then we bring this back to our next meeting.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Hayakatis. Is there any discussion on this motion, which, to summarize, is to work with outside counsel to put some more meat on this bone and bring it back to the next meeting of the Rules Committee, if I could summarize.
Yes.
Okay, any discussion on that motion? Councilmember Burns?
Yeah, I would just say I would imagine the county is not thrilled that these ideas are coming out of good old Evanston, and so I would imagine they would prefer us to just get them all out of the way now, and as opposed to just piecemealing this over the next few years. Because if they need to make these changes to the way elections happen in Evanston, they need to get to it and figure it out. And I know there's going to be a lot of work incorporating ranked choice voting, and if we're going to do this, we might as well continue to explore it. So I guess what my vote today is supporting this so that we can at least have that conversation, understand what we would need to do, whether or not it's possible, and if it is, what we would need to do to make it happen. And again, it would still allow people here who are a little unsure an opportunity to decide not to vote once we get that information back. But if we are even somewhat interested in this, I think this is the time to look into it. Thank you, Chair.
Any additional discussion on this motion? Councilmember Ravel, and I was going to recognize you on the underlying issue, which
before,
you still have
right.
that right.
Well, on the one hand, I agree with Councilmember Nusma about wanting to make sure that the ranked choice voting process moves forward smoothly, and that's definitely well in place for our 2025 local election. I'm super sympathetic to Councilmember Heracardis' comments about, we have a lot of residents who are active members of our community. They do pay taxes. Their kids go to our schools. They are engaged in the life of our community, and I personally would like to see us be able to, see them allowed to vote in our local elections. But then I really like what Councilmember Burns just said about, I am worried about trying to do too much for the next election. So I'm happy to move forward to get more information for next meeting, but not sure that I'm going to vote ultimately on the yes to put it on the ballot. Nice wishy-washy statements, thanks.
And just to clarify, if this referendum would be required, when would we need to make that decision to put this on the ballot as a referendum?
I believe it's 70 days out from the election. I believe that's the deadline for the clerk to submit a referendum that is placed on the ballot by the city.
So this would be January, February of 25, right? If
I'm sorry?
Talking about the April 25?
No,
election?
I'm sorry. This would be from whatever election we want the item placed on as a public question. So if we wanted it on the March ballot, it would need to be 70 days out from that. If we wanted it on the November ballot, it would just have to be at least 70 days out from that election.
Mayor Biss.
Yeah, I'm a co-referrer. I love this idea. I'm also profoundly concerned about the feasibility of doing it for the 2025 election, and I think that's putting my concerns mildly. To the point that was just made, just let me just follow up on the calendar that was just laid out. 70 days before the 2024 primary is like tomorrow. 70 days before the 2024 general election, plenty of time for us, but then that means the decision won't have been made until November of 2024, which is less than half a year before the election would be implemented. And we're talking, implementation of this is setting up a whole parallel voter registration system. So realistically, I don't know what our path to having this happen in 2025 is.
And I was using 2025 as the date for the referendum. But that's not what the packet says. Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think getting more information, while the referrer may have ideas of when they would like to see this go into effect, I don't think getting more information commits us to putting this on any ballot, let alone it deciding when it would go into effect. So again, I think what the motion allows us to do is just get more information from people who understand how to how something like this would need to be put together to pass any constitutional questions, et cetera.
All right, so is there any discussion on this motion, which again is to ask staff to work with outside counsel to put some more meat on this bone and bring it back to the next meeting of this committee? Seeing no further discussion, will Allison please call the roll?
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Wynn? Mayor Biss?
No.
Councilmember Nusma?
No.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Kharikaris?
Aye.
By a vote of 6-2, that motion carries. So staff is directed to work with outside counsel, bring us back some more information at our next meeting. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, are there any additional items for communication from members of this committee? Seeing none.
Yes. Sorry, just very quickly.
Go ahead,
sorry.
Councilmember Burns. Reed.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you. I also think that it would be beneficial for legal to bring back to our next meeting an analysis of ranked choice voting, particularly in light of the Harnett case, the Hugazian, and all of these cases that were cited during the EVI and are parallel to what we are trying to do with ranked choice voting and the measure we just discussed. So I think it would be appropriate for us to get an update there and a legal analysis from an election attorney from outside counsel to ensure that as we're moving forward, that we've dedicated money to the clerk's office for ranked choice voting. We have a whole apparatus that we have to roll out to educate folks about the potential complexities of ranked choice voting. And so I think we just need to know, have some good insight on whether or not ranked choice voting will be implemented and, what we're potentially missing or not missing.
Thank you.
So I guess I'd move to have us, there's a motion. So I guess the motion is to have us also bring back an analysis on ranked choice voting. I mean, essentially it'll be very similar to the analysis on the other issue, but maybe there are some nuances that are worth us understanding.
Is there a second on Councilmember Reed's motion?
Yeah, I'll second for discussion.
Okay. So Councilmember Reed has moved, Councilmember Burns has seconded that staff report back to this committee at our next meeting on the status of ranked choice voting. So any discussion on this motion?
A little bit here.
Councilmember Burns?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say, I know there were kind of differences on how effective ranked choice would be. I would say putting that absolutely aside, obviously, Councilman Reed and I have a lot of conversations away from the floor. I think the legal concerns about ranked choice are legitimate, and I think if Council Ruggie was to take some time exploring it, she would agree. We did not specifically say in the ordinance how the Cook County was
Resolution.
in the resolution. I'm sorry, how Cook County was to carry this out. Again, I've had an opportunity to look at the opinions or the help me out, Reed.
The
holdings, and I mean it's pretty clear. It's clear as other kind of legal holdings and opinions that we've discussed previously, even in this meeting. And so I would say set aside all the disagreements we've had about how effective ranked choice would be in expanding the electorate, et cetera. There are some legitimate legal concerns. Yeah, I think we did make a mistake in the way we approved this ordinance. It still allows us some time to get it right, but I do think it's worth having our council look into it and provide an update.
Is there any additional discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I will call the roll.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Wynn? Mayor Biss?
No.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Ravel?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Kourakos.
No.
By a vote of 5-3, that motion passes. If there is no further business to come before this committee, I will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.